stations, which vary not just about the size of the hospital or the size of the station, but also the patients you're broadcasting to. And going back to my philosophy that still the patient is number one, and we wouldn't need to be here if they weren't in hospital. When I have attended those days and have taken the stand, I've had people come up to me and ask me about entering hospital radio to gain experience. And the one thing I would say, and the one thing I would always say, is that if you join a hospital radio station, you become part of a team. And if you come in on day one, do not expect to immediately jump in and sit behind a microphone. That, first of all, there are other duties that you need to understand in order to appreciate a hospital radio station. We are different, and I think we can take pride in that because of our passion for the patient. I say to them, well, you might have to clean the floors, you might have to make the coffee, clean the loos. I mean, a lot of stations have got several rooms and they have a whole suite of rooms maybe. Therefore, it is about the admin, the fundraising. Some stations have to raise 10, 20, 30,000 pounds a year.
It's mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
Sometimes reading on air that where stations are struggling to find a certain amount of money, and with the best will in the world and the most skilled fundraisers, I often wonder how they actually achieve, or whether they do actually manage to achieve those targets.
Well, that's an interesting issue, but I mean, going back to try and finish off the point about the potential broadcasters, yes, I do think we can produce professional and potential broadcasters. I know one station in Scotland who has a list of about 20 people who've moved on into broadcasting, and so long as we use those people to our ability, and so long as they appreciate that we want to use them in other areas, they're usually intelligent people, they usually have got some training in other skills, and I very much believe that we have transferable skills. I learned to use a microphone and interview in hospital radio long before I needed that for my job as a personnel manager. So I think we've got a lot to offer, but we also learn from our experiences.
Well, from my own point of view, I did it a little bit back to front, because during the 70s I lived in the United States for a couple of years and worked for a non-commercial television station and did work on college radio there, but that was long before I got involved with hospital radio. And then last year I was in America, in Boston, and did a few slots on AM radio, which is not as big now as it was, but it's still nice to see it from the actual professionals angle rather than hospital radio. Not that there's anything detrimental or anything about hospital radio. Still, we'll take a little bit of a break here now for a bit of music, and hope you enjoy this. Matt Monroe there with From Russia with Love. I can remember being taken to the cinema to watch that as a child. Can you believe? From Russia with Love. Originally, well, some of you may or may not know this, I was brought up in Birmingham, born and bred in Birmingham. And just up the road from where I lived, there was a theatrical boarding house. And when certain artists were towards the twilight years of their career, they used to stay at this theatrical boarding house. And the one particular guest was Matt Monroe. And at that time, he had a big white Mercedes with the registration MM10. Anyway, he liked a little bit of the Elvina Mucho Collapso, either during his performance or after, I'm not sure. Anyway, he came back after the show, and he parked well, if you can call it parked, this Mercedes on the grass verge outside my house, sort of abandoned it, and made a lot of noise slamming the doors. And my father, who's a bit of a wag, amongst other things, poked his head out the door and said, "Once a London bus driver, always a London bus driver." Shut the window, thought nothing of it. Anyway, the next day, after Matt Monroe had had a bit of sleep, he came round to our house and knocked the door very meekly and apologised for all the noise that he made. Came inside the house, had a nice cup of tea, and was a thoroughly charming man. But we used to get all sorts of people like that, and there's one that's even better, but that's about Cass Elliot, but I won't tell you that today. Anyway, I'm with June today, and she's, well, I really feel as though I should be courtesying Curtsy, that's right. Because she's the president of the HPA. Well, I'll just have to do with bowing actually, but it's a tremendous thrill, and I know Pam's chuffed as well about the award that we're going to receive very soon anyway, and have something to eat. So, can you tell us, June, have you been up this particular end, hospital radio wise recently, or is this the first visit in a while?